In order to get the most out of your study time and maximize your learning, it's important to exercise your brain. That means using high-impact learning strategies. This presentation will go over 6 evidence-based learning strategies that you can use to be successful. Number 1, condensing your notes. 2, using flashcards to study. 3, explaining concepts using drawings, images, and concept maps. 4, practicing questions from the end of the chapter. 5, spacing your studying so you're not cramming the night before the exam. And 6, reflecting on your learning. For the first strategy, condensing your notes, the key here is that less is more. The objective is to take many pages of textbook or lecture notes and distill them down to the most important information in the most shorthand form. Oftentimes this is known as making a cheat sheet. Even if you can't use the sheet on your exam, the process of selecting information to include and chunking similar information together helps with long-term retention. It's important to be intentional and really think about what info to include and how to organize it in a meaningful way, rather than simply copying information mindlessly using very small handwriting to fit it all on one sheet. Using flashcards is an excellent way to memorize large volumes of information, particularly vocabulary. You can make flashcards yourself on index cards or using a digital app, or you can use pre-made decks that are purchased or that you find freely online, like on Quizlet. The key is to use the flashcards regularly, like in short bouts every single day, rather than for several hours at once. Also, make sure that you're truly quizzing yourself, not simply reading the back and front of the card over and over and over. For instance, if your card says mandible, try to remember what the word means before flipping it over to check yourself. If you get it right, mark the card or place it in a pile of words that you do know, so that you can spend more time studying the words you don't know. If you don't get it right, try to come up with a mnemonic or a memory device to help you remember the definition. For instance, mandible sounds to me like man dribble, which makes me think of a man with drool dribbling down his chin, or lower jaw. Mnemonics can and really should be sort of silly and nonsensical. They work better that way. Some other tips for flashcard use is to practice them both ways. So from the word to the definition and from the definition to the word. Also, use images when appropriate. That brings us to our next strategy, using drawings, images, and concept maps. Now they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so pictures can be a great way to help you condense your notes. Pictures also help you visualize connections between different topics or processes, or view physical structures in relation to one another. Also, it helps you to organize similar information so that you can compare and contrast. Drawings don't have to be particularly good or accurate as long as they're representations that help you understand or remember. Some examples of concept mapping are shown here, where you can organize information using a Venn diagram or a flow chart or some other organizational format. While the ones shown on this slide all pertain to biology, it's still a strategy that can be adapted for any subject. Now, most textbooks have end-of-chapter practice questions, and some classes will include virtual homework assignments with review questions. To get the most out of these, it's important to remember to exercise your brain by trying to recall the answers before looking them up. Every time you access your memory, whether it's doing flashcards or practice questions, it's like a mental push-up that strengthens your neural networks. If you do need to look up an answer, don't just try to memorize it. Make sure that you understand it. Memorizing answers to practice questions leads to classically poor test performance, where students just pick familiar answers to similarly worded questions rather than actually reading the questions and carefully selecting the best answer. Just like workouts for building muscle, it's important to space out your brain workout several times a week, rather than one long study or cram session. So just like your muscles need time to rest, your brain does too. A popular method for studying is using the Pomodoro technique. In this technique, you pick a topic to study for 25 minutes. Then set a timer and work on that topic, whether you're reviewing flashcards, practicing study questions, or any of the previously listed strategies, until the timer goes off. It's important to protect your Pomodoro. In other words, ensure that there are no interruptions during that time so that you can focus on your task. This often means turning off the TV, putting away your phone, and putting it on silent. After the timer goes off, give yourself a 5-minute break. Time to check your phone maybe, before choosing another task to focus on for another 25 minutes. Do this 4 times, then reward yourself with a longer break. Taking brain breaks and getting sleep are important for maintaining healthy and optimal memory function. Last but not least, it's important to reflect on what you have learned. Whether it be from a lecture or a reading or an assignment or an exam, self-reflection leads to deeper learning. There are lots of ways to engage in self-reflection, also known as metacognition. One popular method is to do a brain dump. Right after watching a lecture or reading a chapter, simply write down everything you can remember. It's a form of exercising your memory. It's also crucial to pay attention to feedback on written assignments and learn from mistakes on quizzes and exams. Like with practice questions, don't just memorize corrections, but make sure you understand them. Take note of any themes to your errors and strategize ways to correct them on future assignments and assessments. It's easy to be discouraged when your academic performance is not what you want it to be, but try to have a growth mindset. Know that there's always room for improvement, and it comes incrementally. If you need help, don't be afraid to seek it out. Meet with your instructor, or request a tutor in the Learning Assistance Center or LAC, or talk to a therapist about stress and time management. College is hard, but you can do hard things.